So I'll just ask you if you don't mind just to mute during the presentation, and then we'll have time after that you can feel free to unmute. So as I mentioned, I'm with Community Futures. One of the programs that we offer is the Entrepreneurs with Disabilities Program. That's for anybody with a disability or a health condition, and we'll talk about that a bit more. But I want to introduce you to some of the entrepreneurs we've worked with in the past. So we have Bruce. He is a co-inventor of a product called Kama Cooler from North Battleford, Saskatchewan. Vanessa is a florist owner, but she also teaches. So she teaches people how to make wreaths, how to make different arrangements for their house. Michelle Jansen does cookies and cakes, often for commercials. So we'll might have a corporation that's having a Christmas event and wants to have their logo on cookies or cakes, those kinds of things. So those are three entrepreneurs we wanted to mention in Saskatchewan. In Manitoba, we have Kaylee. She runs a program called EduCom. It's a bilingual program that helps students in schools to self-regulate and to help cope with their anxiety. Jeff is a small engine repair person, and he's continued to carry on his business as JB Small Engine. And Laura is an electrician by trade and also loves numbers. So she does a lot of money mentoring, especially in the trades areas. So just some examples of other entrepreneurs we've worked with. So Community Futures is actually across Canada, and it's good to know as people travel and move from different communities. We're in the rural areas, so that means in Manitoba, we're outside of the city of Winnipeg, and in Saskatchewan, we're outside of Regina and Saskatoon. So the Entrepreneurs with Disabilities program is delivered by 90 rural offices and 6 urban offices. And in Saskatchewan, we have 13 Community Futures offices. In Manitoba, we have 16 Community Futures offices. All of our offices are nonprofit organizations and they're run by volunteer boards of directors. And what that means for you as an entrepreneur is to know that our decisions are made by volunteers that are already in your community. Sometimes that's mayors and councils, sometimes that's other business people, but it's people that you might meet every day in the community. And as a nonprofit organization, most of the services we provide are free or low cost. So today we want to talk about starting a contracting business in Manitoba or Saskatchewan, because we're often working with folks that have worked in different trades. They have their red seal, and now they're interested in either part-time, doing some work on the side, or taking that on full-time. So we want to talk about how our program can assist people that are interested in becoming contractors. So just a little bit about what is a contractor. So a contractor is a person who contracts to perform certain work or provides supplies at certain price or certain time. So often, if you think of something like a house build, there's a whole flurry of contractors, right? There might be tradespeople that are electricians, plumbers, somebody that comes and does the drywall, somebody does the roofing. Might have been somebody there to put in a well, to put in an HVAC system. So all of those types of people. Trade contractors are a subcontractor who focus on a specific aspect of a construction job. So just like the slide says, it could be that drywall installer, the roofer, the carpenter, electricians, and plumbers. So sometimes it's really hard to figure out whether, as a contractor, are you really self-employed or are you being employed? And so the federal government, through Canadian Revenue Agency, has a lot of guidelines on that, and we just wanted to touch on a few of them. But one of the things that gets confusing is often as a tradesperson, you already have your own tools, and that's one of the things that CRA uses to decide whether you're self-employed. But it doesn't, for a tradesperson, you're using your same tools even if you are already employed. So some of the things that we look at is a self-employed worker is an individual hired by a company to perform a specific service. Often you're making your own hours and you're picking the jobs that you want to do. So you have the right to work for other companies. You're not required to just work for one person as a subcontractor. You may work with one company and then the next day you work for somebody else, or even that same day. You're responsible as a subcontractor, as a self-employed person to pay provincial and federal taxes, and you can claim some of your business expenses. As an employee, you wouldn't be able to claim your business expenses. So that's another important piece. Like we mentioned before, you typically use your own tools. You may have your own space where you're housing those tools. You're using your own equipment. You're not subject to detailed instructions, supervisions, and discipline from an employer because you're self-employed. So you're your own employer. And you're not covered under some of the same employment legislation because you're self-employed. So the Canadian Revenue Agency has a really good guide to try to figure out when you're working as an employee and when you're working as a self-employed person. We also have the CRA liaison service. So that's for anybody who's self-employed and try to set up their books or understand the tax systems. That's a free service that we can also send you some information with after this webinar. So, thinking about starting your own contracting business, wonder if you could put in the chat if you have something that you could think about that you've been worrying about or wondering about. So feel free to throw anything in the chat that you think might be something that you might want to be concerned about or curious about. Yeah, that's a great question. How do we get clients? So that's definitely an important conversation to have and something that our office often can help with. So, a few things. Often it's making sure that you're marketing your services and also networking. We know that a lot of business is from word of mouth. So, how are you promoting your services in the community? How are you involved in the community so people can trust you? How are you listed? For example, are you part of um, the, any connections in terms of chambers of commerce? Or are you on any business listings in your community? Sometimes small communities, especially, will have a listing of businesses. They'll have a business directory on their website. So that's a great question for sure. And we can help with some of that in our offices as well. Okay. So some of the other concerns that people have talked about is earning enough money. And so some of that is trying to do that planning. So each of our offices can assist you with writing a business plan. And when you do that, you're going to be writing a cash flow. So when you look at a cash flow, you kind of look at how much money do I need to earn to bring home so that my family can survive? And then how much money can I earn based on how many hours I can work and how much I'm charging and how much people are willing to pay. So we can help you to lay that out for month by month for that first year and then annually for a couple of years to show what your earning potential would be to see if it's going to be enough to keep yourself in a self-employed position. Sometimes there's lots of questions about starting and operating a business, or you may already be in business and then you have some more questions, and that's what we're here for. If we don't know the answer, we know where to find the answer and how to refer you to other organizations. So we can help with all that starting or the operating or expansion, or it may be what we've had sometimes before is that you get contracted for a few jobs and then all of a sudden you get contracted for a bigger job that requires some equipment that you may not have. That's a time when you may come to us, for example, for financing, or to talk to us about how you obtain that piece of equipment, or what paperwork you need to submit to your bank or credit union to get that loan. So we can help with those kinds of things. Dealing with customers and contractors, there's often a lot of challenging conversations and a lot of paperwork that you need to make sure that everything's in place so that you get paid on time and that everybody knows what jobs you're doing and what they're doing. So we have some classes on that as well, and on how to do customer service, and how to work with contractors. And there's paperwork. There's always paperwork. The good thing about self-employment is that you do the job that you're really good at, and you make sure when you're building that cash flow that you can hire out other people to help with those jobs that may not be your forte or may not be making you money. If you make more money per hour doing that drywall than it costs to pay the bookkeeper, then it's probably better for the bookkeeper to do the books so that you have that time to do your work. So having a team is really important as part of self-employment. It doesn't mean they have to be employees. It may just be that you're contracting other services to do those other jobs. And startup costs, equipment, and supplies. So you may need a small loan to get started up. And as a tradesperson, you often have tools. You may also have a truck, you may have a trailer. Those are assets that you can use as equity for when you're getting that loan. So sometimes people are like, well, I have nothing to contribute to this loan. How is that going to work? But sometimes you have other pieces, um, that you can add in from the assets you already have. So we'll do another quick question to the chat before we add some more comment. What excites you about starting your own contracting business? Why is that appealing to you? Being in control of your time, for sure. And that's really important for a lot of people, especially when they're trying to find some balance, and manage lots of responsibilities. And that can also be why you decide to do it as a side hustle. So a side hustle is maybe when you're working part-time or full-time, but you're doing this on the side. So you may have a passion for something, and being able to control that, oh, I just do that on Saturdays really helps you. Or it may be, we work with a lot of folks that may have jobs, for example, in the school system where they have time in the evenings or they have time over the summer or Christmas break, and they can want to control when they can take on jobs and when they can't. So definitely being in control of your time is something that really motivates a lot of people in terms of self-employment. And we can look at some other ideas here. So being your own boss. Some people really don't want somebody to tell them what to do. They feel confident that they know what they do best, and they don't want somebody watching them all the time. They want to just do their job. Um, you're able to hire your own staff that match what you believe is your values, your work ethic, having that freedom and autonomy, which is we talked about a bit earlier, and choosing the projects you want. So you get to pick, just because somebody wants to hire you, if that person you don't think is going to pay the bills, or that person is wanting something that maybe isn't realistic for that budget that you're able to give them, then they might not be the client you want to take on. And as a self-employed person, you can pass that one up if you want to. But it also might be that you're passionate about something that you can't do during your 9 to 5 job, and you want to explore that, at other times. And your earning potential. You're not confined by how much that one employer could pay you. You can go out and get as much work as you want. So. So some of the services that we provide, we've talked about a little bit more, but we'll just review them. One-to-one business consultation. So basically, if you've got a business idea or you're already in business or you're ready to expand at any time during that journey, you can come and meet with our staff and you can meet with them in person. You can meet with them over the phone, over Zoom, over Teams, and we're there. Your file doesn't get closed. We just keep you there for as long as you need us because we know that sometimes people's business will be really busy and then maybe it'll slow down, or maybe you'll decide, I like that aspect of that job, but I actually want to change it a bit and just focus on one thing. And so we're there for that whole life of your business. Like I mentioned before, we're here to help with the business plan development, and some people get a little overwhelmed by that, but we have a lot of templates to help you. And often, if you're going to the bank or credit union, you do need to have some paperwork, and we can help you develop that. It also helps you to figure out whether you're going to make enough money in your business to be self-employed and to be a contractor. Because we never want people to think, oh, I'm going to make all this money and not plan and make some big life decisions without knowing if it's going to be profitable. So that's a really important part of that business plan. Like I mentioned before, we have a lot of training. A lot of it is free, a lot of it's online. And we have some training we're going to talk about later that's available 24/7. So if you need to work on it in the evenings or the middle of the night, it's there. And we have access to repayable loans for viable businesses. And often, if you can't get the full amount from your local credit union, we can work and you can have a loan from more than one funder, and that's okay too. So, right into that, where do you get the money? So, it could be the traditional lenders like the banks and credit unions, developmental lenders. So that's folks like us, Community Futures. So our loans go up to 150,000. Futurepreneur is for younger entrepreneurs, so under 29. First People's Economic Development Fund, that's in Manitoba. That's for folks who are Indigenous. Farm Credit Canada, if your business is primarily agriculture, so if you're doing primary farming, grain or cattle, they would be the ones to help you out. Business Development Bank of Canada is another one of our partners. So they're there, especially if you're doing a larger loan. So if you're going into the millions, that's where we would bring in Business Development Bank of Canada for sure. But you may be, for example, building a large shop. And that's where we might partner. We might come in for part of that. People ask us about grants. There are very few grants. And I do give a word of caution. There are some, if you Google grants, sometimes there's a book that comes up that you can pay a couple $100 and you get a book. In that book is everything that's already online. It's available by Google, or we can tell you about it. Um, that's not always the best use of your dollars because all of that information is available free. So just know that there are once in a while some grants, some programs, but they're very few and far in between. Um, for women entrepreneurs, we have Women Enterprise Manitoba. For anybody who's Métis, we also have the Louis Riel Capital Corporation, Manitoba Métis Economic Development Fund. In Saskatchewan, we have WESC, so Women Entrepreneurs of Saskatchewan, Clarence Campo Development Fund for Métis, and also Saskatchewan Indigenous Enterprise Foundation. So you've heard about a lot and you're like, wow, which one do I do? Where do I go? Where do I start? If you start at us, we will make sure that you're referred to all the programs that are available so that you can make that choice. We work with all of our partners in partnership. That means that we want the best for you and your business. So we're going to help you to navigate to find the right source. And when you're filling out your application for a loan, there's some tips that are really important. You have to be ready to answer some questions. We're going to be asking about, what kind of assets you have, what kind of truck you have, what kind of, if you have a house, If you're renting, we're going to be asking about some of those costs that you already are spending. For example, are you doing a car loan payment? Are you paying out some debt from student loans? Those kinds of things. So you just need to know that those questions will be coming up. The application has a lot of questions, and we can't move forward when there's lots of blanks. So we always encourage people to fill it out as best you can. If you're not sure, come to us and we'll help you to fill out the rest of it, but it does need to be completed when you're applying for a loan. There's going to be some documentation we may be asking for in terms of paperwork from banks. It might be your resume, those kinds of things. That needs to be included. Your business plan is your future roadmap. And so we need you to know your business plan. We need you to understand and take us on that journey of what that business is going to look like. And we need you to be honest and transparent because we're here to be part of your team. We want to be here to help you all the way along, but we both need to be open and honest as going through things, especially at the loan application phase. So, what I ask people to do now is to just take a moment to think about, well, starting a business is my goal. What's my next step? Doesn't mean you need to make a list of 5 things, but just think about what's your next step. It could be that you're going to jump online and do some more research. It could be that you're going to attend a chamber meeting. It could be that you're going to meet with Community Futures. It could be that you're going to research some of the other funders. But take a moment now because when we dream, it stays a dream until we make that first step. So try to think about for you what that next step will be. And then we want to talk about some of the other resources. So we talked about the business plan. We also have a business plan workbook. It's a downloadable guide. Just a PDF. It has question and answers. So it's a great one to start with. We have a checklist. So the 10 things you need to do to get your business started, including how to register your business name, how to make sure your business is registered with CRA, those types of things. We have lots of free training, and we're going to talk about it just in a little bit more in depth, but we have a 10 module self-directed online program. It's basically Business 101. It's videos, manuals, guides that you can watch any time of day, and they're videos. So you can start them, you can pause them, you can go back, you can listen to it again, or it may be that you watch the one on bookkeeping and then didn't need it right away and then want to come back to it. It's all free. So you can come back to it as many times as you want. We're going to talk about some of the event listings. Our Community Futures offices, a lot of our events are online. So even if it's not your home community, you can still access that information. Our Entrepreneurs with Disabilities program, we've had our Business Builder program. Sometimes we have some small grants. So it's a program that you can come back to and check out if you have a disability or health condition. And for us, health condition is very broad. It can include anxiety, it can include back injuries, it can include diabetes, any condition that impacts your health. So just to look at what those guides look at. So we have the startup checklist. That's that 10 different things that you need to do to start your business. And then we have the business plan workbook. And we'll send you links to that in the follow-up email so that you've got those ready and to start looking at. I mentioned before about the 10 modules. So this is just kind of an overview of them. You've got the business startup, you have the business planning, but there's a whole bunch of other pieces. So if you're already in business, now you're hiring your first employee or you're not sure about that, you could just go to the human resource section and read that. Earlier, we talked about how to get clients. So you might want to watch the video on branding and marketing. You might not be sure about that cash flow we talked about. You can watch that piece. If you're going to be applying for a loan, you want to watch that credit and financing. How does that all work? So you get to pick and choose. Again, it's free training and it's on our websites, our cfmanitoba.ca in Manitoba and cfsas.ca training in Saskatchewan. And if you're joining us from outside of those provinces, this training would give you a really good overview, but some of the tax stuff will be specific to the province, along with business setup. So those will be the two pieces that you'll just have to know, maybe a bit different. So we mentioned events, so you can see all of the calendars are available, different programming, lots on marketing, lots on trying to get your idea to the business phase. So you can check out our events calendars. They're constantly being updated with a lot of wonderful events that are available right from our website to register for. One of the other things we talked about was the CRA liaison service. So we offer free webinars. We do about 6 or 7 a year. So the next one that's coming up is next week. It's an introduction to GST. So if you're going to be earning at any 4 quarters of the year, so it might not even just be in a fiscal year, it may be that you've earned money within 4 different quarters over 30,000, then you need to be charging GST. So this webinar talks about how to get set up with a GST account, and this webinar is all free. But you can also book through the liaison service a one-to-one appointment, and they will help you with any business questions you have that are related to taxes. So one of the things we always remind people is a quote from one of the entrepreneurs we've worked with is don't let your health concerns get in the way of fulfilling your dreams. We know a lot of successful entrepreneurs with health conditions or disabilities, and we're here to help you navigate through some of those barriers to make sure that you can be as successful as possible. So just some examples of some people that are looking at creating their own opportunity. So this is a husband and wife team, Amir and Ira, and they're looking to start a business renovating homes. But due to a health condition, she requires some flexibility in her hours and time to rest. In her role, she's going to focus on the project plans and the schedules and the material orders. Community Futures is going to assist with that business plan, some training, some equipment for supplies, financing for those things, and provide some referrals to some disability and health organizations that may assist them. So that's where we're seeing self-employment. A new business impacts positively our communities and also brings money into the community, which helps all of rural Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Here's another example. Tyson is a carpenter with 10 years experience running his own business, gives him better control of his work hours to manage his health conditions. He's ready to expand his business and wants to build a bigger shop with more storage. So he's coming to us to help him review his financials. So he's been in business, he's got financials. Sometimes it's helpful to have a new set of eyes looking at them, seeing where that money's being made. He wants some help with updating his business plan so it's ready to go to get financing from the bank or from BDC. And he may need some referrals in terms of his disability or health condition. So again, somebody who's self-employed is impacting the community because as an employer in the community and continuing to grow and continuing to bring that money into our economy. So just some final information here. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page. So often if there's different training or resources, we'll be posting them on there. So it might be something you want to follow. And we talked about that Community Futures is a rural-based program. So if you are in Winnipeg, there are similar services through edpwinnipeg.com. If anybody is managing mental health, RISE Winnipeg is available, and they're also available in Saskatchewan. And in Regina and Saskatoon, you can go to edpsas.ca, and our partners will be able to assist you. Here is our contact information and just a listing of some of our websites. This is a lot of information, but you may have a lot of questions, and we welcome those questions. So you can email us at any time, and we'll be happy to help you. So I just wanted to open it up now. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to take yourself off mute and ask those questions or put them in the chat. But that's kind of what we're here for. We will be sending a follow-up email with all the links that we mentioned today, so that we can help connect you to your local Community Futures office or whatever office would best serve you to help you with starting your business. So just pause here now. If anybody has any questions, like I say, feel free to unmute yourself, put your camera on if you'd like, or put questions in the chat.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for the lecture, the seminar, the teaching. So, yes, starting something on the side has been on my mind for some time now. I have been in this country for about 5 years now, and I am an accountant by training.
Yeah.
So, and I have relatives that have also come over. I have a welder that is here with me. I have a spouse that is into hair making.
Nice.
Um, one of my relatives that came in can also cut hairs, as he's a barber. So,
Great.
and the I work for the government, but then we constantly we there is this uncertainty about your job each time, and I'm like, I have to really think hard and long and do something about my financial future. So I ran into this and I'm like, great, this is a good place to start. And so I really want to thank you because you have ignited the fire again. I will really sit down and think long and hard, especially now that I have um, people around me that I will call a team. I think we will really need to sit down, bring out pen and paper, and then put our head together and see if there is a particular business venture we would go in together, and then we would reach out to you once we have made that decision. We are in Naperville, Manitoba, so that's
Oh,
about
yes.
half an hour away from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And then one thing I have even noticed, having lived here since 2021, is that there is no what will I call it now? Is it Southeast Asian or African stores that are around here? So we all
Yes.
have to drive to Winnipeg to buy things. So that's also an option. So I will really need to sit down with this my friends and see if we can come up with a need to fill. I think it has become very important.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And like your family is bringing, look at how many different opportunities, right? They're bringing to the table. So that's amazing, right? Because that's what our communities need. So what I will do is we're going to send you a follow-up email and we're going to give you the phone number and contact information for Dave Smith. So he works out of our Triple R office and serves the Niverville area. So he'd be happy just to come and have coffee, just to sit down and chat about ideas, explore ideas. And he'd also, talk about, some of the needs that are in that community. Like you say, not having that food, right? Right in your community, having to drive to Winnipeg. There's probably lots of people that would really appreciate having access to that food right in their own community. But also your accounting skills, the hair, the barber, like lots of different trades and things that you can add to the community. So we'll make sure that we connect you specifically with Dave Smith. He's a great guy. And I'm sure he'd be happy to help you and just have that conversation. And that's kind of how it starts. It's just that conversation. It's just that casual chat. And sometimes we have that casual chat and they're like, yeah, no, I appreciate the information, but I want to wait. And that's okay. Sometimes they'll come back to us a year later and say, yeah, now I'm ready. So don't ever feel that if you have that conversation that it has to be right away. It might wait, and that's okay too, because we're here in the community. So thank you so much. I'm really excited to hear about what you end up doing next. So, but we'll definitely make sure we connect you with Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? There you go.
Hello, Stephanie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Ekene Onoza. I reside here in Atinivaville.
Yeah,
Yes, I want to thank you for your presentation. It's quite encouraging.
great.
Honestly, the last person that asked question happened to be my in-law. He brought us over to Canada. We are new here.
Hmm.
So I don't really know, for those of us who have not started doing anything yet, and some of us have an experience about farming business like piggery
Hmm.
and fish business. So if someone is interested in venturing into such business, how can the person be assisted or encouraged into going into that venture?
Yeah, and so at all ventures, but basically what we're looking at is it viable? So is it going to make you money? Right? So that's where we talk about, what are your costs and what money are you going to make from it? So we would go right back to that, starting with that business plan and starting to ask some of those questions. Sometimes too, we need to do research. And we can help you to find that in Manitoba. We have the World Trade Center Winnipeg, and they will do market research. So they'll tell you about what it costs to run your business, how much potential growth you might have in the business. So we can definitely make those connections for you to start doing that research and to make sure that your business is going to be profitable. And so we can start with that. And that's why it starts kind of with that business plan because that's where you're asking the hard questions, right? So we can make sure you get that guide and we can connect you to the community futures and they can kind of go step by step on how the business would go, but also what you would need to do to make sure you make money.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. Any other questions? I'm excited. You guys have some great ideas and some enthusiasm, and we're here to help you explore those ideas for sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. We're going to follow up, like I say, with that email. So you're going to get that later today with contact information, with links to that business plan guide. So you can start looking at some of those questions with information on those 10 steps to start a business. We're also going to put that link to the Build a Better Business modules. So you can start watching that at any time. It's free. And the first module is all about starting a business. And that would be really important because it's going to talk about some of the legislation, the rules in Canada as well about starting a business. And then there's a whole section two on business planning. So if you don't get through all the rest of them, that's okay. But if you're just starting out, those would be the two modules I would watch. And they have the open captioning, the subtitles, so you can watch that as well. So if you need to watch it on mute, you can, as you're doing other things, but there you can start and stop them. So that would be my suggestion is to kind of go through those guides, go through those two modules and connect with our office, and then we can guide you from there on what to do next. But yeah, thank you so much for coming today, and I wish you all the best. I'm excited to learn more as you grow your businesses. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. So I'll be expecting the contact for Dave Smith in the email.
Yeah, we'll definitely send that to you for sure.
Thank you so
So,
much, Susan. Thank you,
well,
everyone.
okay. Have a great day.
You as well. Bye bye.
Bye.